I take you very seriously, as people should. I want you to tell our audience, without violating any of the confidentiality stuff at these SARS, what did you see there?
Hmm. The SARS, if the American people could see what we saw in the SARS, and the reason that we can't come and give everybody the files is because they're confidential, and I would technically be breaking the law if I revealed the information in them. Which is why I keep talking about these bank records. The bank records will prove the SARS out. The first thing that I want the American people to know is the amount of money in the alleged laundering and bribery scheme is astronomical. It is staggering. It is shocking. And it would blow your effing mind if you knew how much money we were talking about. Now, within those SARS documents as well, one of the consistent things that we saw is that the Biden family took a third cut of all the money as part of this money laundering scheme. We now know that every time Joe Biden has been asked questions about this, he has lied about it. We now know that Joe Biden also used a number of pseudonyms. We found out yesterday the National Archives now has 5,000 plus emails that include Joe Biden's pseudonyms, and he communicated with his son about his businesses. He was on phone calls with his son's business partners talking about presumably the businesses and the outcomes and what they were trying to do, whatever schemes they were building out. We know all of this now. We're starting to prove this out. And one of the things that we have to do is we have to show all the evidence to the American people because they don't trust Congress, but I want them to trust the evidence. We now have Shokin in Ukraine who's saying that there was a bribery scheme with Biden. I mean, literally, Biden bragged about on mic. We all know this several years ago, bragging about how he was able to hold money over Ukraine's head, $1 billion, until Shokin got fired. And he was only in that office for a year. Obama's administration and President Obama himself liked the guy, thought he was doing a good job, did not believe he was corrupt. But we all know what happened after that. And so, where there's smoke, there's fire, but we have to prove it. And I'm telling you, it is disgusting. He will go down as the most corrupt president in the United States of America. I do not say this lightly. I say this as someone who represents a very purple district, a very independent-minded district, and where party affiliation doesn't matter as much as other districts in other states. But I say that very lightly. I mean, that is how bad the numbers are. It's astonishing. And I just cannot believe that mainstream media is just saying all of this is completely normal and okay. Because we all know if it were the former president doing it, he would be in prison right now.
Nancy, where did the money go? So it went from, when you looked at it, again, without violating the confidentiality oath of your committee, where did the money go? From a foreign entity to members of the family? Like, what was the cycle?
Different
You
LLCs.
tell us.
They had layering. Layering is when you're in a racketeering scheme or a money laundering scheme, you create a bunch of LLCs. Money is shifted around. I want to know. I want to talk to the bookkeeper because this is a very complicated web of accounts and banking records. There's a reason why it was created in such a confusing and complicated manner because they were trying to hide the source of the funds and where the funds ultimately ended up. The money is in the accounts of Joe Biden's brother, his son. There are wives, ex-wives. There are grandchildren. Like, why does a very young grandchild have any reason to have almost 7 figures in money from communist China in a bank account? Like, that is not a thing. That child was not a foreign agent. Neither was Hunter Biden or James Biden. And so what we see is a lot of layering, a lot of bank accounts, a lot of complicated financial transactions to hide the money and where it's going. And we also know, by the way, one of the SARS reports related to a prostitution ring. And as you know, John, I was called a conspiracy theorist for talking about it. But come to find out a few weeks ago, the IRS whistleblowers confirmed the existence of that prostitution ring because Hunter Biden was writing it off on his taxes. I mean, really effing unbelievable. And that had to deal with Russian hookers primarily, about 28 of them. And so, when you look at all this and you put it all together, there's no way and no reason. None of this happens without Joe Biden. He is the center of it all. He is the reason it's happening. He was on those phone calls. He has bank accounts. He has pseudonyms. The guy is completely lying. And we just have to prove it out.